So, and now we're going to move on to the blockchain cases, and that's where they all come into play. And the first case we're going to look at is simply art. For that, I'd like to welcome Bernadine Bröcker, Vida. A bit more than that. Thank you.
All right, thanks for having me. As he mentioned, my name is Bernadine, and I'm lucky enough to run a team in London that manages the world's largest online marketplace of art and culture and science exhibitions that tour around the world. So we basically connect museums and other venues that want to host exhibitions with content providers that includes museums, collectors, and different people who have pieces of art that are important. But today, what I wanted to talk to you about is how blockchain could affect the art world. And it's quite cool to talk about this at a tech conference, because I think probably you're not usually looking at use cases in art. But blockchain is actually uniquely positioned to really change the way that art is traded internationally. And it's because of the problems that exist in the analog world that a lot is possible. So today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what art is and how that's evolving thanks to blockchain. Also about how what is valuable is evolving thanks to blockchain, and what needs to happen in order for it to actually go beyond just the use cases that exist today. So I think I have, yeah. So first of all, let's look at what is art. Art is what we as humans consider to be valuable to describe our story as humankind, really. It's the objects that we attribute value to that have some kind of significance in explaining why we exist. So this can range from what was reported last week in The Economist, a rock with scratches from a Neanderthal tens of thousands of years ago that somehow was creatively designed to mean something, to works of art that actually signify something that happened in history that really was quite painful and reminds people to not commit the same mistakes, or works of art that sold for $150 in the 70s and just sold for $450 million last year. So it's a huge variety of different types of objects that have a value. And at the end of the day, they're just objects. So if you're investing in these types of things, how do you know that they actually have some value? Why is one work of art on a piece of paper that's in a closet somewhere worth £10, whereas another work is worth 10 million? The truth is that when that is something that is saved in a specific way in the analog form that can be held by blockchain. But first, what is art is also evolving, and I just wanted to quickly mention that blockchain is helping create unique objects that identify what we attribute value to today. So as David mentioned at the last presentation, of course, we have the CryptoKitty number 147 that sold for $140,000 this week in New York. Using a hardware wallet that was really quite ingenious so that you can actually keep that key in an offline analog form, to works of art that could have never existed without blockchain. They are collaborations between different artists internationally. This is Dada.nyc that basically brings artists together, and thanks to blockchain, they can attribute the art to the artist who created each side of the artwork, for example. So you can create unique objects that actually have a value that represent our digital identity today, which before blockchain you couldn't do. You would actually have people copying it. It would be hard to have value on that unique asset. So that's one thing that's really significant about blockchain. But the next is what I was alluding to earlier. You really need to know that that work of art is what it says it is in order to really think it's valuable. And so how do you know that it's real? In the analog world, one of our collectors owns this work of art. It's by Burne Jones, who's an artist from the 19th century. And it's significant because he was one of the pre-Raphaelites. But how did this collector know that this work was really by Burne Jones when he bought it? He got a piece of paper. It was usually a PDF or a Word document, and inside that Word document, it has a bunch of information that tells you about the work. So where it was exhibited, who owned it, what are the details of the work, what's the size, etc. And in essence, it's a ledger, because if it says that it was sold at Christie's, you can go to Christie's and check that that's true. So there's a bit of a multi-party agreement there that is going on. And even on Vastari, this is a screenshot of the work on our platform. You can see all the transactions that have happened with the work and where it's been exhibited before. But people fudge the data a little bit. Given it's a Word document and a PDF, it's quite easy to delete a part that you might not find very helpful, or to change a part that might not be exactly what you want. And so trust in the art market is really disappearing. And so that's why blockchain is becoming something so interesting for the art market. It's immutable. All of a sudden, you have transactions that you could actually go back to and say, is that really true? So what is valuable is changing. It's impossible that all works are going to be on the blockchain immediately. There were some startups that started out 2 years ago saying, we're going to digitize all of the art in the world and put it on the blockchain. I would argue that's really counterproductive, and it's not going to be helpful, and probably you'll get a lot of fraud on that platform. What's going to be valuable is works that have been attributed with a true transaction that is immutable, and those pieces of information will help you know that that's a good work of art to invest in. So, I'll give this example again. Someone at some point created this work. Someone at some point wrote down what it was. Someone at some point documented that it was true. So what's going to happen is all of these companies are putting together real data that this actually happened in the blockchain. So you'll be able to check on VerisArt that that artist really created that artwork. Or you'll be able to check the Codex protocol that that work of art was really sold at Christie's at a certain point in time. So basically, all of these different aspects of data will be verified. And the works that actually have these things attributed to it will become more valuable. Oh, sorry. Let me go back. All right, let's go back to this bit. So there's a next level up. So I think this is the base level, and it's working really well for art that's made today, because if you can immediately put it in the blockchain when it's made today and log everything from then on, it's going to be really easy to avoid fraud. It's more difficult when you look back. So what are the data points that are going to be attached to art when you're looking back? The truth is, you have all of these different transactions that happened. They're multi-party agreements between a buyer and a seller, potentially an intermediary might be involved, an insurer, a shipper. So all of these agreements are currently in paper form. You'll have an insurance agreement that this work will be insured when it's at this location. If these items start being built in the blockchain, then those documents can also add data to those objects to make sure that they are considered valuable. So Christie's will create a buyer agreement with a party, enable it using a smart contract, and as a result, that data will always be immutably verifiable. And so the works with the longest chain of these types of information will be the most valuable. And slowly but surely, those pieces of paper will be replaced by a digital ledger. And it's really significant as we grow as an art market because of the fact that there are limitations to what the art market can do right now. People don't trust it, a lot of people don't want to invest there, and also not everyone believes that these objects should be owned by millionaires. So what's really interesting is the new business models that are also coming about as a result of having these tokenized, the ability to tokenize the works of art. So you can suddenly start creating new works of art that don't have an owner. This is a work by Anish Kapoor. It's made in virtual reality. It's actually a journey inside a human being. No one's ever going to own this work. Anish Kapoor's work sells for millions all the time, but no one will ever own it unless a company comes about and creates a way for it to be a publicly owned object which can then be traded on a secondary market. There are quite a lot of white papers out there about this proposition, but I think that none has really taken the full control of the market yet, but it's where things will be going. So what, in conclusion, I guess, is that this is a niche that is perfectly positioned for blockchain to innovate, and it's really going quite fast. But what's a shame, and why I collaborated with Christie's, and we're doing a big conference about this in July, just to talk about art and blockchain, is because people are starting to go around and mark their territory in the distributed ledger space. They're saying, no, I am the protocol. I am the blockchain for art. And at the end of the day, that's not the essence of what blockchain is. It's about consensus. It's about working together, and it's about making sure that you have inter-protocol communication so that you can verify those works and all of your data becomes more valuable as a result of working together, rather than having a land grab. So, and the other side of it is just putting it on the blockchain is not going to be valuable. You need to have some kind of business model behind it. If you're digitizing an insurance contract, you should be saving money for those insurers so that they actually use it, rather than saying you have to do it because it's going to be valuable. And then the reason that this space is so exciting for this to happen is because of, as I mentioned, the lack of trust, the desire for all of the parties to have someone who tells them that this is true, but the fact that none of them want to say who that's going to be. So they basically want someone to tell them this is really a Rembrandt, but if one person says it, someone will contest it. It's a very distributed market, really. So it's great if they can all work on consensus. And also, most art collectors are very enthusiastic about blockchain. So they all have probably made a bit of money on cryptocurrency, etc. So this is a really interesting space to be working. And last but not least, it's one of the last industries where every single step of the way is so expensive. When you're shipping a work of art, as we're shipping 25 works to China for an exhibition, it's going to cost us 180,000 in shipping fees alone. That is an expensive market. This is a really great opportunity for a lot of innovation to happen. So, I'm really excited about where this goes. I hope I gave you a bit more of an overview of why this is an exciting space for blockchain. And yeah, come to me. It's hard to say it all in 10 minutes, so come to me and ask questions if you'd like to.
Thank you very much. Wait. Thank you very much. So what we're going to do is we're going to do one Slido question and one, let's call it the Alex question. So let's start with Slido, and that's, in which market segment do you anticipate first traditional companies to embrace the blockchain?
Well, I guess, given I was just talking about art, I think I'll say art. But I think that in general, it's very important that the tools that are built are actually useful. There are very few industries where people will want to suddenly just register their stuff on blockchain. It needs to be a tool that's useful first. So what I'm excited about is paper is still the most reliable form of working at the moment for a lot of industries. And if you can create a reliable form of working in blockchain, it could be very exciting.
Cool, thank you. Alex.
So I hope there is a question coming out of the audience, because I'm sure every one of you has a painting at home. Am I correct? At least one painting on your wall. So is there anybody who can ask me a question? I can help you a little bit. So what this platform is doing as well is like helping you to put your painting on a museum's wall, for instance, at the National Museum in Slovenia. So how would you, let's take here somebody, let's take the lady over there. I'm sure you have a beautiful painting at your home. And how would you have your painting, A, on a museum, and B, more to that topic, in a blockchain?
So yeah, what we've done at Vastari is we've demystified how museums work. So how do they get all the works that they put into an exhibition? It's you have a whole group of Picassos. Someone's gone around and called everyone to find those Picassos. We created an online platform for that. So it democratizes the access to that value add, because of course if you are putting your work into a museum, it goes up in value. And currently that's reserved for only the friends who are the friends of the museum. So what we've done is we've made it possible for you with your artwork, whether it's a Picasso or whether it's a work by someone from a different country, that can then say, I want to put this work in the museum. And our main goal is to change the way that these values are distributed. People keep going for the same subjects because it's easy to find the works. So I guess that's where we started. And the way that this is working with blockchain is every single time a work is lent to a museum, there's a loan agreement, there's an insurance agreement, and there is a shipping agreement. And our goal is to use these verified transactions to start creating more authentic ledgers about the art. And then I really like the question that's up there. It's a really good question about how do you link that blockchain thing to the actual work of art? You can easily link that thing to another work of art. The way that the auction at CryptoKitties did it was through a physical hardware wallet. Another company is doing a QR code that goes on a sticker that has glue with DNA, that if it's tampered with, it could actually be noticed and you know that that sticker has been moved somewhere else. So that's a way of making it attached to the object. But I think that when it will get to mass market will be when our phone cameras are good enough to get the crackler or the dust on a painting, that you can then really see whether that makes sense and whether it matches on a very high resolution level. That's when it'll get really big. But we're not there yet.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Really, that was super cool. I could listen to you for hours. We're moving on to the next topic, from art to sports. That's the part where you take over. He's inhaled already. Welcome on stage, Marko Filej. Your stage. Take care.
Hi everybody. First of all, thanks to organizers for inviting us to this exciting event. So I will present you today a little bit how can blockchain be used in the sport industry and a little bit about SportyCo and what we are doing. So SportyCo, we are a Slovenian team. I am very excited that we are able still to run the company from Slovenia. We were the first ICO in the sport industry. We have finished our ICO in December last year. We have raised $5 million. And let me tell you a little bit what kind of problem we are solving. We all know that raising funds for young athletes, clubs and teams in the world of sport is very difficult. So with our platform, we are allowing especially young athletes to raise funds on one hand, and on another hand, allowing fans and small investors to invest into the sport, which was impossible till now. The platform is smart contract based, and I hope that you all know that one of the best use cases for Ethereum smart contracts is crowdfunding, especially equity crowdfunding. So as I said, we have finished our ICO last year. Because we are solving such a big problem in the sport industry, we were able to attract big sport superstars on board. First of all, Roberto Carlos, former Real Madrid superstar, joined us. Then Ronaldinho, we all remember him because of his great skills playing for Brazilian national team, Barcelona. And a couple of weeks ago, also Luis Figo, Barcelona superstar and Real Madrid superstar, joined our team. We have done big steps forward since we finished our ICO. We have partnered with Espanyol, Spanish La Liga team. We are sponsors and partners. We are preparing some big events together to promote blockchain and how the blockchain in the world of sport can be used. This was an important step forward for our company to be visible and to let people know around the world what we are doing, what kind of problem we are solving. And all these steps brought us to a huge milestone approximately 2 months ago. You all know Shark Tank, and Kevin Harrington, one of the original sharks from the TV show Shark Tank, invested in our company. So after the ICO, we got additional investment from one of the sharks from the Shark Tank, because he sees a lot of potential in what we are doing. We have a working product, which is not usual, and usually, ICOs takes long time to bring some product on the market. So we were able in a couple of months after the ICO to release the platform, a fully working platform. But now we are facing a big problem, and I guess all the companies which are on our same level will face this problem, because we have a product that is that can be used by masses, and not all of them are familiar with crypto. So currently we are preparing 2 huge campaigns. So a Formula 1 team will raise funds for further development of their driver academy on our platform, and a football team from United Kingdom will raise funds for further development of their young academy. So where is now the problem? Because we will attract huge masses to these campaigns, we need now to combine somehow crypto and normal world. And I think this will be the problem for all companies which are entering this market, because we have, of course, great working product with smart contracts. And if you are familiar with crypto, there is no problem to use our platform. But if you want to support a campaign like for raising funds for a Formula 1 team or for a football team from the United Kingdom, you need, different system, because currently blockchain crypto is not yet, mass adopted. So what we are doing now is trying to, combine the 2 worlds, because we will need still time in order to let crypto be used by masses. So this will be, from my point of view, one of the biggest challenge for the companies like ours in the next year or 2 years, how to combine the 2 worlds, and then, see when will be the right moment to switch completely to crypto. So thanks for having me, and have a nice day.
So, how do you best explain blockchain magic to non-tech people, i.e. celebrities that you work with? Dumb celebrities, like, that don't understand stuff.
It's better not to try to explain them, because they don't understand. Because blockchain is really complex, and but they understand. We are using blockchain just to support in what we are doing, but they understand the problem that we are solving. But anyway, they are getting familiar more and more, because blockchain is getting more and more traction. So yeah, it's difficult to understand, but you can notice that more and more celebrities are now involved into crypto and blockchain.
So you don't explain it to them, just say it's complicated stuff, but it's amazing.
Yeah, only the ones that wants to learn a little bit more, then yes, but otherwise it's better not to start this topic.
Okay. Alex.
You actually stole my question for later on my panel, but I will use it anyway. I think Slovenia is very known for handball, no? Or for basketball. I always confuse the both here.
Basketball.
Okay, basketball.
Yeah, also handball.
Why can I not see a megastar on basketball?
Yeah, it's very important to have a focus, because we are a young company. We are a team of 19 people, and if we want to scale, we have great ambition to be the absolute #1 in crowdfunding space in the world. So we need to have a focus. Which industry to target, how to approach, how to scale is very important to have a focus, because otherwise you just lose energy and the results are not coming.
Okay, which countries are you focusing on right now?
Sorry?
Which countries are you focusing on now?
No, the countries are not so important, because we are already global with all these celebrities and the marketing that we are doing globally. But yeah, China is very important, because they like sport, they want to invest. And China is very important, but also United States and Europe, of course, all over the world. But we are trying now to enter strongly into Chinese market.
Okay.
Anybody here who has a question, who has maybe a child who is high perspective to be the next basketball star, who wants to ask him some questions?
which would be a good time to do that in the break later on. Exactly. Because we're somehow over time already. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much. Thank you. But obviously, if your kid is the next big thing, do talk to him. Now, we're moving on from sports, quite fittingly, to health and insurance. So if your kid is the next big thing and does sports, you might also want to listen to this gentleman. There's Vasja, Bočko, health and insurance. It's a pleasure. Stage is yours.
Thank you very much. Right, thank you for inviting me, and thank you everyone for coming. So let's just dive into this. I just wanted to frame this initially, why healthcare is interesting for us and why it's important, why I think it should be on everyone's mind. And the reason why is really simple. The healthcare is sort of a victim of its own success. It's become so good that it's becoming very expensive and not sustainable. And so a lot of people are not able to afford healthcare anymore. And there's just a few quick facts. So in 2014, we spent almost 8 trillion globally on healthcare. It's been growing in a decade, more than 60% per capita. USA is obviously the biggest spender, 17% of the GDP, soon to be 20%, and the average is about 10% in OECD. And so if we just look at the US, the estimates are there's 1 trillion lost to inefficiencies, and they're also saying that about 85% of medical research is redundant, either because it doesn't get the desired results, or because we could just reuse or recycle some data that we already have, but that's not possible. So what we're seeing, or what we expect in the 21st century of any industry to become more effective and more efficient, is the digital transformation, right? And so that happens in 3 steps. It's the digitization, it's digitalization, and then digital transformation. So number 1 is converting the data from its physical form or analog form to a digital form. Then it's leveraging that digital data to improve business processes, and then the result of all that is a more efficient and more effective industry. And if we look at healthcare, what we see is that it's really just beginning its journey of digital transformation. Now, some markets are a bit more advanced, obviously, in that than others. But just looking at it globally, we're still in a phase where a lot of stuff is done on paper, and everyone is a participant in healthcare. Everyone's a patient at some point, and I'm sure you can agree with that, and that's your experience as well. But because we're on the beginning of that journey, what we definitely know is that healthcare data will grow exponentially. And with that, it's going to be exacerbating the existing problems of healthcare data. And what are those problems? Number 1, there's a problem of accessibility. So healthcare data is locked in data silos. It's usually generated by healthcare providers, and it's also stuck with them. So you have a GP somewhere, a lot of your data is going to be stuck with that GP or with that institution. Secondly, there's a problem of exchange, right? It's difficult to exchange that healthcare data or your electronic health record between various doctors or between yourself and trying to get a secondary opinion on that data. Thirdly, there's a problem of interoperability. So translating that data from one system to another system, both in terms of a digital IT system or just interpreting it from one work environment to the other, is very problematic. And then the fourth one, obviously, as with any sensitive data that holds personal identifiable information, it's the privacy and security. And we see, on a weekly basis, we see healthcare data suffering from hacks, ransomware, unauthorized access, and so on. And so the problem really is that we know what things need to be fixed. It's just how to get the solution to market and start to attract customers and so on. And it's more of a value proposition problem. We know that all of those things need to be fixed, but we can't just go out and say, we're going to fix interoperability, we're going to fix everything at the same time. What we know is that healthcare data is, for the most part, right now generated by the healthcare providers. Improved data accessibility, exchange, and interoperability is not something that, as of now, those healthcare providers see as really critical. And the reason for that is simple, because it doesn't improve the bottom line, right? It's not that will bring benefits later on. There's no immediate benefits for that, at least not the way they see it. But they do see data management and security as mission critical. And so why is that? There's a couple of reasons. We read and we talk a lot more now than we used to about data ownership and privacy issues. Cambridge Analytica and Facebook is just a most recent and clear example of that. Data security is a lot more important now, and we have regulation coming in that is getting more and more strict on how data should be handled. And so the value proposition where we need to start with the data is really managing the security and the storage. And that's where our company, Ireo, comes in. And what we are doing is a blockchain-based, decentralized healthcare data management and storage solution. And I'll get to this in the end, but one of the key points today here for me is that blockchain is just part of the solution here. There's a lot of stuff that we are using. So it's things like zero-knowledge data encryption, decentralized storage, decentralized access control, providing data immutability, and what is really important is end-user data ownership and control. But there's a second benefit to this. If we provide healthcare institutions a good data management and storage solution, what we can also start working on as a sort of second-order bit is a global backbone for healthcare data. Once we have that data stored in the network, facilitating exchange becomes much easier, aggregating that data becomes much easier, and all of that enables advanced research, as in machine learning, that leads to AI, and so on and so on. So, by having good data storage and management, we're really providing the necessary foundation to bring healthcare into the 21st century. Now, I'm not going to go into this too much because it's a bit more technical stuff. But the idea is that whatever you're building right now in healthcare, we think it needs to be based on open standards, it needs to be open source, it needs to be permissionless, and so on. And so what we are lacking so far is common standards and sort of openness, not for everyone to see the data, but for anyone to join and anyone to be able to own their own data. And that's also something that we are working on. Who do we see as the initial customers for this? Obviously, the institutions which see the benefits of secure storage and control of data. And there's sort of initially, we see two segments there. One is really high-end clinics that handle even more sensitive private data, healthcare data. And then secondly, clinical device manufacturers who are moving along the IoT. So they're basically all the data that they're generating, they're storing in a digital form, and so they need to have a solution for that. We started this sort of more on a research phase about 2 years ago. We seriously started the end of summer last year. We're working on an MVP that we are deploying just this week in the Middle East, and it's a really cool use case, which I can get into a bit later if anyone's interested, which is electronic health records for refugee camps in the Middle East. We will be expanding that in some other countries in the Middle East, and we're talking with some integrations with a medical IoT device manufacturer and a telemedical platform. So the key takeaways here are that healthcare data is growing substantially and exponentially, and so we need to have a really good solution for storing that data. Legislation is moving us towards that path, and it's accelerating that change. And at the same time, having a great data management solution is also enabling other things, like research and artificial intelligence, and so on. And so I just want to finish with this, that we're talking about applications of blockchain in various industries. What you should take away from this is that blockchain is enabling just some parts of what we're doing. And that what we usually, where we usually make an error is that we assume that blockchain is the silver bullet that will solve everything. It won't solve everything, but it will solve some things very well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now let's see what Magic Slido has to offer. Why EOS and what are the advantages over alternatives? Did you consider some third option too?
Well, that's a very technical question, and I always get it, so someone must have been reading the white paper because I didn't mention EOS at all in this speech. I made sure of that. We think that EOS is solving the scalability issue a lot better than Ethereum is, so that's the short answer, and its staking model is better for our use cases. You know, the opposing argument is that, well, it's not live yet, so we'll see. It will be live in a couple of weeks in June. You know, from what we're seeing, we're really optimistic about that, and that's why we decided to go with EOS. You know, in 2 years when Ethereum catches up on that, maybe this debate is going to be meaningless. Both are going to be equally good, but right now we think that for those two reasons, EOS is better.
Thank you. And now traditionally your question.
Yeah, one question. Actually, I'm going to add to that one. How do you explain the trust behind blockchain solutions the most effectively? So
Great question.
You mentioned GDPR.
Yeah.
But if you look, for instance, at Europe, let's take an example, France, extremely strict rules or regulations around privacy. However, they still, if you move, for instance, from one village to the next one and you want to take all your files along, you get them in paper format and you move over there. So that's a huge opportunity for you.
Yeah, exactly.
How do you deal with this?
Yeah, so first of all, let me just really quickly answer how we're using blockchain. So the blockchain in the Ethereum network is used for two things. One is to provide data immutability, so you store data hashes on the blockchain. And then if that changes, you know that the original data has changed. Secondly, we're using it as a distributed and immutable access control list. So what that means is that if you grant someone access to your data, that information gets stored on the blockchain. So it's not something that can be sort of a victim of internal bad players, which is what the centralized systems have. So in centralized systems, there's always a super administrator that can access any part of the system, any part of the data, and you really need to trust that what they are doing is completely legit and legal, and they're not accessing data that they shouldn't have. If you put that on the blockchain, use it as an access control list, that goes away. Secondly, you know, we're not putting any healthcare data on the blockchain, and there's a million reasons why you shouldn't be doing that. What we're doing is using the most decentralized solution there is. We're putting the data on the patient's phones. So you basically have an app that holds all your healthcare data, and if you move from, so even if you have regulation that says it needs to be physically in the same place where you are, physically residing, that's always the case because the phone's exactly where you are. So,
cool. Thank you very much. Thank you. And now we're moving on from health and insurance to the last block, and that's social impact projects. Well, you're on stage already, but I'll still say welcome on stage, Arnaud St. Paul.
Hello,
That's
good
the part
morning.
where you applaud. Good, thank you.
Can I take this? So my name is Arnaud St. Paul. I'm the chairman and founder of the GIF Foundation. And who has kids in the audience? Awesome. So we're going to talk about it. And we're going to talk about the next generation. But first, let's talk a little bit about blockchain and how it empowers us in new ways that we haven't explored as a society, as humanity. May I? We are nearly there. Just to give you a very short nutshell, the GIF Foundation is a non-profit, and its purpose is really to help the next generation to become a higher version of ourselves and really change the world in a very, very good way. And I'll get back to that in a second. So, the Prime Minister of Slovenia told us that in Slovenia there is love. And blockchain is about love as well. It's about empowering human evolution. It's about community. and we talked about it in these amazing presentations, all the different actors in blockchain, in consensus, accept something, which in turn creates trust. And trust is important in our relationship between one and the other, in society, in communities, and so on. So we could say, and a lot of people say, that we are one. We are all together, and together we are going towards a specific destination that we still is unfolding and we have to figure out. And together in the blockchain world, in the cryptocurrency world, we are changing the definition of money. It's really core and very important is that each of these projects here have a value attached to whatever is the purpose of it. And they are changing the actual relationship we have with money. And let me introduce you to Give. Give is a cryptocurrency for kids at school, for them to learn how to give to charities and get a financial education. They can, well, I can say that the education system is broken and so on, but let's say that what is more important is this. We help kids' ability to help and support others. We improve their capacity to handle financial transactions. And more importantly, we prepare them to the crypto world we are all together envisioning and why you are here right now. So it's all about transparency, trust, and so on. And social education as well. So, sorry, here we go. What is Give? It's a pilot with 10,000 kids in Thailand in September. It's an estimated donation of $90 billion in the next 10 years. It's a market-validated system already. And, well, how it works, you have the schools, you have the parents, most importantly, you have the kids, and then you have tech and content partners, you have sellers, you have service providers that are coming in the school, are offering services to the kids, and the kids are able to save money, to invest money in trees, for instance, or to sell a Pokemon card, and or providing a new service to their friends, or creating a orange juice stand for the next fair. So all together, as teams within the schools, they are becoming philanthropists. They can create their own companies. They can express their creativity in a new way that was not able until now. So how do we grow this? Because the idea is we have 1.2 billion kids in this world today, and how do we get them? How do we provide such a tool to them? So one aspect is obviously having the kids sharing the gift token to all the other kids, all their friends within the school and outside of it. We also have third parties that are growing their outreach through the GIF community and the ecosystem. We have charities that will receive these donations and whose interest is to be receiving more and more donations. We have also tech and content partners that are providing utility to the ecosystem. A tech partner can be a healthcare station in the school. A content partner would be Aflatun, one of our partner who is teaching already financial literacy to 5 million kids. And then we have the schools. So the idea from a blockchain standpoint is to grow from 25 million wallet today, as it is being said on the internet, up to 3 billion. That's the parents and the kids. Here we go, we have a high growth. Why? Well, because one scientific study made in San Diego, in the US, stated that if one kid gives, it has an impact on 10 other kids. That's amazing, what we can do with altruism. We have created the Give label, which is awarding to influencers and portals and ICOs, organizations in general, who support the idea of an altruistic world. We are creating awards for them, and we are helping the world and start a conversation with you guys about what is the world we want for our kids for the next 10, 15, 50 years, and then 100 years and so on. What is your choice? So we also created a kids reserve fund, which purpose is to help disadvantaged kids. We raised last week 1.4 million. Obviously, it's a very, very small number compared with the need. But we have like 4 ICOs that already pledge tokens to our fund, and we will provide them through the Give ecosystem to the kids that do not receive pocket money allowance from their parents. So we are putting together an initial coin offering. We are in private sale now and getting to September, where we'll raise money for the beta test and also provide money for the kids. And last bit is I wanted to share something of which I'm very super excited. It happened yesterday evening here. Not in this room, but over there. We made a partnership that is absolutely amazing. We created a Give Lab. So the Give Lab is a school of 800 kids from 7 to 17 years old who will become the ideators and the coders of the Give app and the Give ecosystem. So it will be an app and an ecosystem created by kids for kids. So we can only be amazed at what is going to happen thanks to that. Thank you very much. And please say to your neighbor, "You're awesome," and give them a high five. You're awesome. So what's the biggest social impact of blockchain yet to come? I could spend an hour or 2 on that subject.
We have 1 minute.
Yeah. My deepest belief is that blockchain can at last enable us to really evolve from a consciousness standpoint as a human being or as a human society. We are very, very late compared with the latest discoveries that the science has found in the last 100 years, not counting also the spiritual beliefs that are existing in the past thousands years. Now blockchain is going to be helping us in that direction to fast forward towards huge growth in terms of how do we relate with our reality and how do we grow into happier, more positive and loving beings. So that's my answer to this one.
Thank you very much, Alex.
So I don't have a question because I can ask you afterwards on the panel. However, I do want to show that he has a close relationship to Slovenia because, as you can see, like give.si, I don't know why. Are you speaking Slovenian or not?
No, I'm French.
Okay.
And I live in London, so, nothing to do with it. Yeah, it happens that if you look at SI, it is also social impact. And that's what we're about. So Slovenia is social impact as well. You are the nation of social impact.
Thank you very much.